You're listening to But Did You Die? Warning, spoilers ahead.
Hello, welcome to But Did You Die? I'm Marissa, and I'm here with my best friend Sophie.
Hello!
Yeah, we're here doing a horror recap and review podcast. We're not experts, we're just fans, and we want to talk about our favorite scary movies with you.
And whether we would die or not.
Yeah, and we do a random generator to select these movies, so we're not picking them each week. We are just going ahead and doing a random generator, and it tells us what we're going to watch, so it's always going to be a surprise.
And later on, you guys will be able to add movies to that, right? Isn't that something you wanted to do?
Yeah, definitely. So I think it'd be really fun to get a lot of involvement with everyone, because one of my favorite things to do is talk about scary movies. So that's pretty much the whole reason for the podcast. I just want more people to geek out about horror movies with.
I'm pumped about it. I'm excited.
Yeah. So, Sophie, since this is our first podcast, why don't you talk about your history with horror?
So, you're like super into horror movies, and I am not quite as into them as you, but I have I have really nice memories. The reason I like horror movies is what I'm trying to say is because I have really nice memories of watching with my like grandpa and dad as a kid, like old like black and white, like The Haunting and the original like House on Haunted Hill, and so I have really good like feels attached to those type of movies, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I do think a lot of the reason people really like horror movies sometimes is the nostalgia of it.
Yes.
Definitely. I watched horror movies with my parents growing up. I definitely watched ones that I should not have at a very young age. But it was just something that we've always done. And we still do. They'll tell me when a scary movie's coming out. My dad will message me and he'll say, "Oh my gosh, this movie's coming out. We have to see it."
That's so cute.
Yeah, so we've always watched them together. Like the It miniseries. My dad was a big fan of that. We had all the Stephen King books at home, so I was always reading horror books, and so I was just surrounded by it a lot, and that's where that love came from.
So did your parents let you watch, like, my parents would not let me watch, like, Alien or, like, It, pretty much, especially Exorcist. Like, as a kid, they would not let me watch a lot of those horror, which made me want to watch them more.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of friends whose parents would straight up, they were like 9 watching The Exorcist. Like, what was your family like?
Oh, yeah, there were no rules.
No?
I was always watching whatever, and I do remember, like, watching, like, The Exorcist and The Omen, and my mom is super into horror, and she'd just be like, "Ooh, it's so scary, let's watch a scary movie," and I'm, like, 11 and traumatized, but...
I remember... I was like 5, we were back in Wales, and my parents were watching one of the Alien movies, and it was late at night, they put me to bed, but they used to leave the living room door open just a bit, so I would like crawl by the door and like watch through, and they were watching Alien, and that part where the alien busts through the stomach came on, and I like yelled, so my parents like grabbed me and pulled me in the room, and they're like, "Oh my god, oh no, you saw this part, it's not real," and like I just have this memory of ever since then, like as a kid, my parents would always be like, "You know it's not real, right? The monsters aren't real, you know, right?" I'd be like 15, they'd be like, "You know this isn't real," I'd be like, "Well, yes, Mom."
Oh, no, I got no sort of comfort. It was mostly like, this is cool, this is fun, like that was the energy my parents had, but I do remember I did get really scared of clowns for a minute, and my room was clowns, like that was my baby theme.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so when I was still pretty young, like 8 or 9, my room still had quite a bit of clowns, and there were these little fabric clowns that were up on the wall. And one night I was asleep, and I looked up, and the head of one had become like detached from the wall, so its head was just like hanging down and staring at me while I was laying in bed. And I ran into my parents' room, and I slept with them that night, and literally the next day, my mom went out and bought pink paint, and we bought, like, butterfly stuff, and we redid my whole room, because I was like, no, these clowns,
whose idea
demonic.
was clowns anyway? Was that your mom?
I don't know, yeah.
Next time I see her,
crack,
I need to ask her why. I have questions.
Like, that is an awful baby theme. I guess, you know, it wasn't such a big thing back then, but I feel like clowns have always been creepy, so whatever.
Yeah. Clowns are the worst.
Yeah, no, that was always a bad idea from the very beginning. But do you have, like, a particular subgenre of horror that is your absolute fave?
So one of the things I'm looking forward to doing this podcast with you is learning more about all the subgenres, because there's way more than I ever even realize. So I don't really know if this, like, fit, like, what the subgenre name for this would be, like, the official name, but I really like, psychological stuff where you don't always see, like, you know what I mean? Like, where it's very mental and it messes with your head. I love that because I'm really easy to like scare. Like I have a very active imagination, so those get me the most.
Oh,
like,
sometimes it's the best when you
Yeah.
don't see the monster. I feel like that adds a lot. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
What about you? Do you have a fave?
My favorite, I'm really into paranormal. I love ghosts. I love
Yes.
demons. I'm really into that.
Anything exorcism, I love.
Yeah, I love all that. Those are my absolute fave. I also really love found footage films, which it's so funny because that's kind of a category that gets trashed on a lot. And I feel like with both the paranormal and the found footage, there's a lot of room for like really lame movies and a lot of bad ones. And I do not care. I just think they're so fun. And even if I watch a bad one, I'm on to the next one. I devour them.
I
They're
really
so good.
love a good B horror movie.
Oh,
that you're
yeah.
like,
I'll do a D movie. I don't care.
What is an example of a D movie?
Oh, man.
Like, I need to understand your rating system.
Honestly, it's so hard because, I mean,
VHS. Have you seen that?
the first VHS wasn't my fave, but actually I really love the second one.
I haven't watched it.
Oh, it's so good. And a lot of people, I don't know, there's always people that don't like a movie that you love. And I think that's another great part of being a horror fan is there's so many sub-genres within the genre.
Yeah.
And so there are going to be people who just love a certain genre and you hate it, and you'll see a movie and you'll think it's the best, and then you'll show it to someone. Like, I saw a movie recently and I messaged it to my mom and I was like, oh my gosh, you have to watch this. And she messaged me back like the next day and was like, why did you do that?
No.
That was so dumb. And you're like, ah, well, I freaking loved it. And so, but that's just the way it goes. Like, there's something in it for everyone. And I watched an interview with Stephen King recently, and he goes, even the worst horror movie that I have seen was really fucking fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so fun, and I'm not here to like nitpick and watch a lot of things for like the reality of it, or that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to be entertained. And I feel like at the end of the day, like what the movie makes me feel is how I feel about it, even if there are some detractors. So
yeah. Like I know we talked about this before before we started recording, but like the movie The Cell, I love The Cell.
Oh, I love that movie.
Everyone else I've ever met hates that movie.
Oh.
Absolutely hates it. And that's the type of movie I really love. There was another one very similar to The Cell that I watched with my grandpa when I was like 10. I can't remember what it was called. But that like psychological type, like weird. I love that.
I love
Cabin
it.
in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods is so
it's
good.
so fun.
Yes, so fun. So, yeah, so today we are actually going to be talking about Hellraiser. Yes, and neither of us have seen this movie.
But I had always wanted, like, it's one of those movies that I was always like, I'm gonna watch this.
Oh, I know.
I'm gonna watch this.
Me too. And I feel like a lot of horror fans will probably be like, oh my gosh, how can you say you love horror movies and you haven't seen Hellraiser? But it's just one of those movies, like, you have those movies where you know the characters, you've seen them everywhere, you feel like you've seen it.
Yeah.
Because it's just so popular, and then you just never get around to it.
That's exactly, and I had an idea of what Hellraiser was in my mind because of, like, all the people who love it, and, you're inundated with all this stuff about it, so you feel like you know it, like you said, and especially, like, seeing all the cosplays at conventions of it and stuff, so I was sure I knew what was going on. No. It was nothing like
It's not what I thought it was going to be. But also, and I love, it's so funny because all the other, like, really popular horror characters, like, I have been so obsessed with, like, Freddy Krueger and Chucky and, like, Jason. And so I know all about them, and Pinhead is always in there.
Yeah.
And I just know, oh, that's Pinhead. And
yeah.
I never really got, but I hyperfixate, so sometimes I just get really obsessed with one certain thing, and, like, that's just it for months. Like, I've gone through periods where I was just like, all I'm gonna watch is fucking Freddy Krueger films, and that's it. Like, Nightmare on Elm Street,
I was gonna say, like, Chucky. I associate, if somebody told me to pick a horror movie franchise that I associate you with, it would be Chucky.
Oh my god, I love Chucky. Chuck's my fave.
Yeah. We have photos of you with Tiffany somewhere.
Yeah,
we should share this.
Oh yeah, maybe not, but I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and we will do a synopsis of Hellraiser. So we'll go ahead and talk through the plot of the film and have conversation while we're doing that. Hellraiser was directed and written by Clive Barker. He started out as a novelist, actually, so he wrote this, and then he decided he wanted to direct it himself. It's produced by Christopher Figg. It stars Andrew Robinson as Larry, Claire Higgins as Julia, Ashley Lawrence as Kirsty, Sean Chapman as Frank, and Doug Bradley, he plays as the lead Cenobite, who we know as Pinhead.
Yes. Oh, and the book it's based on, maybe you have that in there, is, isn't it Hellbound Heart?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he had written books before that had movies made.
Oh.
And he commented that he just really hated how other people did his books. Like, they were never directed the way he wanted, so this is why he made his directorial debut. He's also well known for Nightbound and Candyman.
Oh, I didn't know he did Candyman.
Yeah. So
I would really like to read the book now, just because, like, translating books to movies is tough always. But, like, the director being the writer of the book, like, that's so interesting.
And you can tell he's very, like, creative and artistic. And definitely, I would definitely read the book now. This movie was released September 11th, 1987. It had a budget of just $1 million. So,
yeah. And it
pretty
blew,
low budget.
It blew box office weekend. Wasn't it like 14 million?
Yeah.
Or something?
It
like,
made, I think like, I read 20 million.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And for back then, especially. That was really good. So.
An instant cult classic.
Definitely. So, anything else you would like to say about this movie before I go ahead and start summarizing?
No, do a summary.
Okay, so we start with a man who we learn is named Frank, and he's buying a puzzle box from a merchant. The man asks him, "What's your pleasure, sir?" And we see some dirty-ass fingernails as Frank slides him some cash, and the merchant tells him, "Take it, it's yours, it always was." So very creepy.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. Frank takes the box home, and he surrounds himself with candles, goes to solve the box, and as he does, light comes through the walls, and hooks fly out, grab onto Frank's skin, pulling him apart. Some pleather-clad demon music video guys show up.
Music video guys!
But we learn they're called Cenobites, and they take a look around, and they look at Frank's remains, close up the box, but first, the leader, who actually is not called Pinhead in this film, but we know he's Pinhead, and he's pretty popular. Well, he has to rub the box very suggestively for a little bit, and then he closes it. And once it's closed...
Sexy box.
Yes. Everything in this movie, very sexual.
Yeah.
A lot of that going on. So once it's closed, the room goes back to normal, and now it is empty as if nothing has happened. Years later, we come upon a man who is called Larry and his wife, Julia, and they're going to go look at a house. Apparently this house, Larry's brother has been living there, but he's no longer there. The house belongs to their family. Larry does mention that his mom has been dead for quite a while, so it's been abandoned. When Julia asks if the brother's going to be upset that they're there, Larry says he doesn't know where Frank is, and we get the feeling that Larry and his brother do not have a good relationship, and that his brother's probably not a very stand-up guy. So this house is super gross.
Oh my god, I made so many notes about that.
Yeah, like, it's disgusting.
My notes literally say, they moved into that disgusting house, judging. Right away.
Which, I mean, sometimes you don't have a lot of options, and you have to move in, or, you're like, I love renovating, here's where I go. But
there was mold.
They moved in, like, that weekend, and they did nothing.
The part where he was like, okay, we'll move in on Sunday. I was like, what? This Sunday?
You're not even going to have time to get rid of the roaches by then.
And there's like a scene with Julia, and behind her, the wall is just covered in mold, and I'm like, who in their right mind? No.
No, like, that's dangerous. You really need to get major work done.
Maybe none of this happened. They hallucinated from the mold. Oh my gosh,
the
twist.
Yeah, so that's our new theory.
Yeah.
The mold in the home caused hallucinations. All of this was made up.
Yep. Mold fever dream.
So they're in this nasty house, and there are just like maggots in the kitchen, cockroaches, trash, Jesus statues. So Larry's trying to convince Julia they should move in, and he even says like it's better than Brooklyn, which
is it?
I don't know where they were living.
Also, sidebar, Julia, I got bad vibes right away. Well, I was not a fan immediately.
To start with, I kind of was like, okay, so he's asking her to move into this nasty, gross house, and he's like, why are you off? Like, why don't you want this?
Yeah, that's fair.
And he seems, in the beginning, I was a little bit like, okay, Larry's kind of a dick, and Julia's just like, I don't want to move to this nasty house.
Yeah.
And so I felt like he was being a little pushy, so I was like, I wasn't too feeling any certain type of way about Julia, but I did later.
I just had a feel she was trifling.
Yeah. So Larry gets a call from his daughter, Christy, and we learn that Christy is Larry's daughter, but she's from a previous marriage. So Julia is her stepmom, not her real mom. And Larry is asking Kirsty, I keep saying Christy, but her name's Kirsty.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yes, yes.
Kirsty. So Larry is asking Kirsty if she wants to come see the house, but Kirsty tells him she has a room to stay in, so she won't be moving in, which good, because ugh.
Mm-hmm.
So while this is happening, Julia's walking around the house, and she finds pictures of Frank, and he's with many various lovers, because he likes to keep a collection of photos for reference.
A collection.
And she goes ahead and she keeps those photos. Sunday comes, and they're moving in, even though, like I said, they have just not spent nearly enough time cleaning up this house.
No.
And
as is.
yeah. And there are these really perverted moving men, and they're helping Larry take a mattress up the stairs. And so Julie comes in, and they all look at her in a very gross way as she goes up the stairs. And there is some tension there between Julie and Larry as he asks if they have any beer, and she tells him it's in the fridge, and then he remarks, well, why don't I get it? I've got nothing better to do.
Yeah.
So
that was...
Yeah.
But also, like, she could have gone and got the beer. He was carrying the bed up.
Yeah, like, you can tell they just don't really like each other that
No.
much. So,
Mm-mm.
definitely. Kirsty walks in, and the movers also look at her super gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they say she must get her looks from her mom. And then Larry looks at the mover that said that and says, her mother's dead.
Her mom's dead.
Her mother is dead.
He didn't look like he felt that bad, though.
No. But, and the mover just goes, oh.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So Julia is off looking at a photo of Frank, and she is like getting lost in memories, and she's reminiscing. And we learn that Frank came to her before her wedding while it's raining, and he tells her he's there for the wedding, her wedding, to his brother.
Yeah.
And asked her for a towel. And they had it's just a really weird encounter where she's just automatically on board to fuck her husband's brother right after meeting him. Yes. And then she just gets addicted to his sweet lovin', like, immediately.
My next note is, fucked his brother on the wedding night? What?
Yeah, like, I don't know if it's, like, the wedding night, but it's it's close if he's there for the wedding.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I'm taking a drink, hold on.
Trifling.
Thirsty. Okay.
The thirst.
The thirst. Okay. So anyway, she's fucking the brother.
They banging.
They banging. But she did decide to marry Larry anyway, for some reason. And Frank is not the commitment type, I'm guessing. So,
yeah.
So that's probably why. And we see Kirsty interact with Julia for the first time, and you can tell that their relationship is new, and they're not really familiar with each other. Kirsty's trying to be nice, but Julia totally ignores her to walk around thinking about Frank's rain-soaked bod some more.
Did they... Okay, so do the rain-soaked bod. Did they say how... Maybe I missed this. How much time passed between the wedding and when they moved into that house?
I don't think they do at all, no.
Because I was under the impression it was a while. And so it was interesting to me that her and the daughter weren't really friendly.
I am getting the feeling that it's new because of that. Like, it seems like it's kind of a newer relationship. Kirsty's not super familiar with her.
Yeah.
Julia doesn't seem... She's the stepmom. The other mom died, so maybe it took them a while to get remarried.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's been, like, years and years and years.
I figured the daughter was probably, like, away for school or something.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's been a couple years and the daughter's just been away.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not very familiar yet. So Julia is thinking about that bod.
That bod.
And so we see them having sex in her reminiscing. So we know that they definitely had an affair. And we cut back to Larry and the movers, and they're bringing the mattress up the stairs. And as they do, Larry's hand gets caught on a nail, and it cuts pretty deep into his hand.
I cannot believe the nail did that.
Like, and it looks super gross.
Like, but also, so we talk. I don't know if I mentioned this during the podcast or it was just you and I talking earlier. But like, one thing I will say about this movie, like, I don't like gore, like gratuitous gore, but I felt like it was the gore was always really appropriate, even though I do not think a nail would do that to your hand. I mean, you'd have to have some force.
I think that the practical effects were really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So it looked pretty cool. He immediately runs up to Julia, who is in the attic, not into the bathroom or the kitchen where a water or a towel would be. He would rather just drip blood all through the house first.
That was weird.
Yeah, but he isn't good with blood. You can see he's really squeamish, and he doesn't want to look at it, which I get because I am very much like that.
Yeah.
Like, if you get a cut, do not run to me because I will scream and I will pass out.
Yes.
I don't want to... Which, in movies, it doesn't bother me as much, unless it's, like, super real and someone's getting their, like, Achilles tendon cut in front of me.
Yeah, no.
Then I'm a little bit, but in real life, no.
Oh, yeah, my knees wobble. Too much blood.
Oh, I will just...
Shaky knees.
Don't do it to me.
Don't do
I couldn't be a nurse.
No.
Man, props to y'all.
For real. There's no way.
Whoever's nursing. So Julia tells him he needs to get stitches, so they leave and they go to the doctor. His blood has dripped onto the floor of the attic, and as they walk away, we see the blood get absorbed into the floorboards. We then see, like, a beating heart under the floorboards and some really cool practical effects where these arms shoot up through the floor and a goo starts to form, a skinless body, and it's messy and it's icky and...
That's one of the things that really stuck out to me is, like, for its time, like 1987, the effects were so good. The makeup was great. The costumes were great.
Yeah, I thought it was very creative.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I think, I did read they used most of their FX budget on this scene. Like, Frank being resurrected is where they wanted to do it. They shot it originally, and they didn't like it, and so they ended up getting more money.
Oh.
Just to do this scene. And then the rest of the effects in the movie are pretty much just Clive Barker, and he said some Greek guy.
Oh, it's some Greek guy.
And he said they did it in like one weekend. So him and the other guy. But the resurrection scene is where they spent the majority of their funds.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it looks great. Like, it stands up. Withstands the test of time.
Yeah, you're still like, when you're watching it, you're like, oh.
Yeah,
like, that's...
like, usually you watch movies from the 70s and 80s, and I feel like horror movies from that time, a lot of them, you're kind of like, that looks silly now. Like, what would have been scary then? Because...
Yeah, and I can...
You know, it's all evolved so much that now it's like, oh, that looks silly.
Yeah, but I can really appreciate some great practical effects, and these are really good. And it even has a little bit of a stop motion-y vibe to it.
Yeah.
And I still, I thought that was very cool.
Yep.
Later on, a dinner party is being held at the house because, of course, you want to host a dinner party in this super nasty house that probably still has cockroaches and smells
can't get
like
over
BO.
it. It blew my mind.
I'm not having anybody to my home.
But also, the movie doesn't address it at all. At no point, at least no point that I recall, does Larry say, like, oh, we gotta get this place tidied. You know what I mean? Like, there's not, like...
No.
They're just gonna live in it like
Before
that.
I have a dinner party, I'm a mess. I'm freaking out.
Yeah, no way.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm Swiffer and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's
mold
no
for
way.
everybody.
Mold for everyone.
Hallucinate together. Free drugs.
Yes. You all have bed bugs now.
Oh.
So, Kirsty's flirting with her boyfriend Steve at the table, and everyone seems to be having a good time, and they're drinking, except Julia. She gets really tired, and she goes upstairs, which, of course, she goes into the attic, and she sees these rat guts, and she's disgusted, and then she is grabbed by the creature that we saw forming earlier. He tells her not to look at him, and Julia is super afraid, but then he tells her, hey, it's me, Frank. He explains that the blood on the floor brought him back, and he needs more in order to continue to restore his body before the Cenobites come back and take him. Kirsty goes upstairs, and she is wasted. She's going upstairs and interrupts Julia to say goodbye. Then she and her boyfriend Steve walk down the street, and we see this homeless man for the first time. Or, as I was thinking, Forrest Gump during his running phase.
Oh my gosh, yes!
That's just what he looked like to me. He doesn't speak to her. He just stands around looking scary.
Yeah. I liked something about his character, though. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, he's just there to stare.
I'm excited to see more of him, and if he's in the rest of the movies. All 10 of them.
Dude, I was like, I have some work to do.
That's wild.
Yes, so I guess we'll be watching some more Hellraiser in the future.
Yeah.
Julia thinks about Frank more later that night, and she remembers how good that D was.
Yep.
And she goes to the attic to tell him that she's gonna go help him restore his body. Kirsty then has a bad dream, and there is a bed full of blood and the cry of a baby, it sounds like. She goes to the pool. She does not go to the pool.
There's a pool?
She goes to pull the sheet off, and she sees her father with blood all over him, and she screams and wakes up in a room where her and her boyfriend have like a stepbrother set up. And there's just two twin beds right next to each other, so maybe later they're gonna make them into bunk beds, and
they're very chaste. Okay.
Yeah, they'll have more room for activities.
She's not a harlot.
Yes.
They are unwed.
Yeah, so I guess that's the room that she said she was staying in.
Yeah.
I'm staying in a room. It's Steve's room, and his brother's away, and I'm using
Would you
his
stay in
bed.
that house, though? I can't believe the dad invited his daughter to live in that house. Can you think about... My parents would never... The risk.
No, that's so gross.
I would be insulted. If my parents asked me to come live in their new house and I walked into that, I would never speak to them again.
I'd be like, are we in squalor? Are we in trouble?
Do you need help?
I will help you. Please don't. Actually, let's go somewhere else. I will get you an apartment.
Yeah, for real.
Do not live here. So she calls her dad to check on him to make sure that he's all right. And everybody goes back to bed. The next day, Julia puts on her 80s power suit. And she's feeling hot, and she's ready to be a serial killer.
She's got her man back.
Yeah.
She's ready to rock.
So she finds a man at the bar and asks if she would like to join him for a drink. After they come to the house, they're kissing, and she seems not very into it, sorry. And the man is kind of aggressive, and he's like, this is what we came here to do.
Oh, yeah.
So,
rapey vibes.
Very rapey vibes. Which, no, you can change your mind.
Yeah.
At any point. So, point against him. I hope you do get slurped up.
He deserved it.
Yeah, he deserves it. So, so I was just like, now I want to do a puzzle and drink a tea, sir. Like, you were invited, but now you're not. Like, leave. So he gets more than he bargained for because they go upstairs and she leads him to the attic. He's confused because there isn't a bed. And she's like, oh, we don't need a bed, you know. So, and of course he's a man, so he's okay with that.
Yeah, she's like, do it on the floor.
Let's just do it on the floor.
First time
like,
for everything.
If I were that man, I'd be like, I'm being murdered right now.
Yeah,
like apparently being a serial killer when you're a woman is very easy.
I believe it, though.
Which, yeah, you could just go and say, come back to my house.
And then your house is...
And then your house is a murder attic.
Yeah.
So.
With the mold and, like, holes in the walls. And so, like, he didn't... Red flags not right away. Like, he just... All the blood was in his dick.
Yeah, because...
He could not use his brain at that time.
Yeah, no, because you know, like, there's just murder vibes all the way through. Mm-hmm.
I mentioned the smell. Just sidebar... I spent a lot of time thinking, what does that house smell like?
Bad.
And to just live in it. And those, like, Larry and Julia are very clean, proper people.
Yeah. You can tell that we are clean freaks.
Yeah. Yes.
So if you're listening to this right now, so I got raised by my mother, who is a professional home cleaner. And Sophie's mom is a stay-at-home mom.
Oh my God. So the other day, the best way to explain it is the other day I got a new little handheld vacuum and it was delivered to her house. She brought it over to me and she walked around my house giggling, finding things to vacuum up.
Yeah.
My mom loves cleaning in heels.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
her life.
Yeah, so we both have mothers who love to clean, obsessed with cleaning, and it has made us also crazy.
We turned into that pretty fast.
Yeah, so the scariest thing about this movie was the house.
That was my first note. Straight up judging.
I'm just horrified the entire time, like, oh no, I couldn't do it. While he's removing his clothes, the man, Julia locks the door. She then goes to get a hammer off a hook and hits him over the head with it. He says, please, falls down, and Frank comes out to slurp him up.
Slurp!
And Julia goes to the bathroom to wash up after her very first murder. And you can tell with this first one, she's coming to terms with what she just did, and she's having some guilt over it.
But Frank is worth it.
Yeah. So Larry comes to check on her, and she tells him she's just kind of feeling sick, she needs a minute, and then she goes to the attic. Frank is looking better. He's way less gooey, but he still doesn't have skin.
Yeah.
So he tells her he's starting to feel pain because he has nerve endings now, but he needs more in order to fully recover. So, meanwhile, Kirsty, she's working at a pet shop, and we see that same homeless Forrest Gump guy, and he is eating crickets out of a bug cage.
Yeah, that blew my mind, too. I was just like, oh, okay.
Which, that's a delicacy.
But the way he was looking at her, he was sending a message.
Yeah, he's
right
just
there.
staring at her and like crunching crickets, and she's like, you have to pay for those in bulk. It's like grapes. You can't just pay for one.
That's
or two.
called grazing. It's illegal.
Yeah,
you
you need to buy the bulk cricket order or leave, sir. So she goes over. She tells him to stop, but he continues, and then she sternly asks him to leave. He never speaks to her, but he just stares and eats the crickets, and he does finally leave, and she's clearly very weirded out.
Yeah.
Which I would also be. Julia brings more victims to Frank, and we have this little montage of her luring these men in, and she seems to be really getting into it now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's feeling it. She doesn't feel bad. We even see her sit in a chair with her little drink, and she gives a smile.
Yeah.
She's
devious inside.
She's feeling powerful. She loves it. She's like, I got my power suit. I got all my hairspray.
I got my man back.
My man back. So, and now we murdering. Full of evil now. She's ready to do whatever it takes to get Frank back to full health. And after demanding to know what happened, Frank tells tells her about the puzzle box and that it can show you heaven or hell, which I didn't see heaven in this.
I did not either, but we're not super into BDSM, so
it's true.
It's preference.
It looked like all hell to me, but I guess, yeah, if you like having hooks all in you and being torn apart and bleeding while you swing upside down, that could be heaven for you.
So that's one of the things that, like, we'd never watched this movie, and I thought I had an idea of it, and it, like, fetish, right? Was,
yeah,
like,
which I'm not kink shaming, by the way.
No, absolutely not.
If you like BDSM or anything,
oh, hell yeah.
Sure. I'm just more of a soft pat kind of gal. Don't pet too hard, or I'll bite.
Don't take my skin off.
Don't take my skin off. I like to keep it.
I like my meat suit.
Yeah, like if someone wants to do some, some spanking, some biting, okay, we could do. But like if we're getting into some territory where some 80s band members are showing up and they're trying to like torture me and put me in a box, I'm not into that.
No.
So,
but like people who have told me about this movie before are like talking about like sexy fetish, and in this movie, all I saw was people like getting hooked and their skin ripped. I have not seen.
Yeah, no.
So I'm really. Is that in the other movie?
Maybe like as you watch further on, it gets like more sexier.
Like mid-lane sexy.
Yeah, there's. Yeah, I didn't see any middle ground here. It was just straight to ripping you apart.
Yeah.
So I need to know what the other options are.
Yeah.
Like what else are we offering?
What is on the menu?
So far, all I've seen is ripped apart.
Yeah.
Julia sees a vision of Frank getting torn apart by the Cenobites, and when Frank asks if she's going to help, she tells him that she is, and that they will never find them. So later, Larry and Julia are watching boxing on TV. They hear Frank upstairs, and Larry gets up. Julia tells him she left a window open upstairs, and when he says he's going to go check, she tries to stop him in a very suspicious way.
Yeah, and he wasn't that, like, red flags for me.
Yeah,
like,
so he's not very perceptive through this whole movie.
No.
Because if Matt was trying to get me, my husband, if he was trying to get me to not go upstairs, he's like, I left the window open, don't go up there. I'd be like, what is up there?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not
Liar face.
worried about it at all, So he does end up going to look in the attic. Frank isn't there. So then Julia tries to distract him by kissing him, and they end up going into their room, and they start getting busy. And she's looking around the whole time because she knows Frank is around somewhere. And she sees him approach the bed with a knife, and she begs him, please don't. I can't take it, please. And she's saying no over and over, which, by the way, Larry is still going.
Yeah. And also, like, I would hope that if I'm, like, saying no, please don't, like, Sam, my husband, would not only stop, but, like, maybe look around the room. Like, she clearly is not speaking to him.
Yeah.
And he didn't look behind him.
No.
He didn't look nowhere.
He just kept going at it, even though she was clearly in distress. So Frank flays a rat with this knife, and that's pretty gross. And then Frank walks back into the attic, so he gives up, and Larry is confused because he hasn't seen Frank, and he just doesn't understand. And he says so, and he gets up and he walks out of the room.
He's like, I don't understand
you.
Listen, your half-dead brother was just standing behind you, and I'm in love with him, and he's very sad that we're banging right now.
I've been murdering a lot, so...
Yeah, for him.
Yeah. So, Kirsty and Larry, they go to a Chinese restaurant, and they're talking about his relationship with Julia, and he admits to her he's having a hard time, and he doesn't know what's going on with her. He asks Kirsty to stop by and be friendly with Julia, and Kirsty agrees. Frank is needing another body, and he does want Larry's, but Julia tells him no, and he tells her to find him another one before the Cenobites come looking for him. Julia brings a man over, and Kirsty, heading over like her father requested, sees Julia bringing this man into the house. But then Julia, she turns around and totally looks like she's going to murder this guy.
Oh, yeah. Like, definitely.
Like, I wouldn't need to go in the house because I would just go, oh, this bitch is going to murder this guy.
Yeah. That's not how... This is why I wouldn't work in a horror movie. It wouldn't work for me.
Yeah, no.
I would just leave.
I would just call the cops and be like, hey... My stepmom went into this house with a guy, and she is gonna murder him.
Like, she looks murderous.
She's murderous AF. Please go in there. But that's not what Kirsty does. So Julia's bringing this guy upstairs, and he tells her that he just feels lonely sometimes.
It made me so sad.
Aw, like, that actually, I feel bad that he's gonna get slurped up. So he gets to the attic, and of course he's confused. When he sees Frank, he freaks out, and he holds Julia in front of him. Frank pushes her out of the way, and then he starts beating on him. Kirsty comes in, and she walks upstairs. She sees Frank doing this, and she freaks the fuck out, and Frank tries to grab her and says, Kirsty, it's Frank. It's Uncle Frank. You remember? Come to Daddy.
No.
Which,
What?
ew. This phrase, like, every time he says it, he says this phrase multiple times.
Yeah.
In the movie, and it really skeezes me out
Yeah.
every time. I'm like, ew. So, it's like his catchphrase.
Especially, like, looking the way he does, too. That adds another
Come to
layer to
Daddy.
it. Ooh.
Woo. So, you can tell that they didn't have a good relationship when he was alive. And I'm just guessing from context, they don't say this, but he definitely seems like he may have touched her, been inappropriate with her.
I got that, too.
Yeah, he seems like that uncle that's creepy and
Well,
perverted.
it's very clear that he's, like...
Not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was, like, he went and he searched for this box, which literally is, like, you get pulled up.
Yeah, like he's always... And then there's, like, that sex scene earlier where Julian and him are having sex, and he's like, I need more.
like,
so, he's clearly got some stuff going on. So, I just kind of got
doesn't
that
he pull
vibe.
out a knife, too? Didn't he...
I can't remember.
I feel like he cuts her bra strap with a knife as well. Like the first time,
in the sex scene.
Yeah, in the very beginning.
Yes,
like,
yeah. I would be like, this is too much, dude. Like,
can we not?
that's just, I don't have time for this. This is weird. So, yeah, you just tell that there's a bad vibe all around there.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems pretty on par with his character, so. So Kirsty yells for him not to touch her, and she punches through his stomach and gets a hold of the puzzle box.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. She can see that he cares about it by the way he reacts, so she throws it out the window and she runs super fast out of the house and grabs the box on her way out. She faints on the street, I guess just from
Terror?
freaking out, and she is taken to the hospital.
Is it a hospital or a psych ward?
I don't know.
I honestly thought they were going to, like, trap her in a psych ward.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
it does seem like
I
you're
thought
getting those
at first.
vibes, which I think later on that happens. But I haven't watched the rest of the movie. Now I have to watch them because, yeah, I've got more questions than answers now.
You're not allowed to watch them until the generator gives them to us.
Okay, yeah,
Them's
we
the
can't pick
rules.
the movies. We gotta generate them, but
Yeah.
there's like 10 movies, so. So anyway, when she gets to the hospital, she wakes up. She wants to call her dad, but the doctor tells her to get back in bed and that the cops are gonna want to question her. She doesn't seem to remember what happened, and he tells her to look at the puzzle box and see if that jogs her memory. She plays with the puzzle box, she begins to solve it, and a wall opens up. She walks through it and down a hall, and there is a huge scorpion penis worm looking creature.
Yes! That's the best way to explain it.
Yes, and it's chasing her down, and you do see in this scene, you can kind of see the trolley and the people behind it, like, pushing the monster.
Oh, I didn't
Did
notice
you see
that.
that?
No!
I just thought it was funny, because, yeah, they're
love
just in this
that.
really long hallway, and you just see this, like, monster coming down the hallway, and it's, like, moving back and forth, and you see it's on a trolley, and there are people pushing it.
I love in movies when you catch, like, the crew, you know, in the background.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun, but I was just
Yeah.
like, wow, like, they just made this big creature, and I don't know, it's kind of cool. Which I know it's not what they intended, but, you know, looking back, it's cool.
It's a cult classic. People do not care.
Yeah. So she manages to escape, and she's back in her hospital room. Then the Cenobite gang we saw earlier, they show up, and Pinhead, the leader, he says, "The box, you opened it, we came." I think the Cenobites are definitely the coolest part of the movie.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes.
I am obsessed with their costumes and their makeup.
I think they're so cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and then when they showed up, I was just really pumped. I honestly feel like I have to watch the rest of the movies because they weren't in the first movie that much.
Yeah.
And you would think, I just thought Pinhead was going to be more of a focus.
So I really, one of the things I put in my notes too is that this movie felt like a prequel.
Yeah, it felt like a setup
Yeah.
for what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I'm oh my gosh, the priestess in later movies. I've just seen photos of her, but I want to make her outfit so bad.
Oh,
like,
man.
she is gorgeous.
Yeah, so we definitely have to get more into this universe for sure.
Yeah.
So Kirsty asks the Cenobites, she asks them who they are, and Pinhead tells her that they are angels to some, demons to others, and they are explorers in the further regions of experience.
Yeah.
Which I would be like, I really don't want to join your sex club. Thank you, though.
But, like, thank you, though. The way I loved that, like, the way they put it, like, that would entice me. I'd be like, oh, okay. You know, until I saw them pulling people apart.
I just think seeing the way that they're dressed and them saying that they are going to help me explore further regions of experience, I'd be like, oh, I don't really want things in my butthole right now, but thank you.
Maybe later.
Like, thanks. for the offer. I'm in the hospital though, so
Can we just start slow?
let's do
Coffee?
let's do coffee. We'll see how it goes.
Now I need to see artwork of Pinhead and Christy at coffee together.
Yeah, just having a coffee date, getting to
chatting
know
about
each
it.
other.
Yes.
Because what we want to practice, friends, is safe sex. Where we, not just, physically, but where we feel emotionally safe,
Clear consent.
Yeah, clear consent. Yeah, you want to feel supported. Pinhead wasn't giving me that.
No.
He wasn't giving me that. So I'm going to have to
I
say no.
don't think he's into that.
He doesn't seem to be, no. So Kirsty says she didn't mean to open the box and that it was a mistake, but Pinhead tells her it doesn't matter. She has to come with them. Kirsty then asks if they also took a man named Frank, and they say yes. She tells them that he escaped and she knows where he is and she can lead them to him and they can take him back instead of her. So she wants to do a little switcheroo.
That was clever. That is exactly what I would do too.
Yeah, take him. He's creepy as hell.
Leave me. He likes what y'all do.
Yeah, he's the one who, he wanted to find you.
Yeah, he was actively seeking you.
Yeah, I don't want none of this. So they don't believe her, but the lead guy, Pinhead, he tells her he wants to hear him confess himself, but if she betrays them, he will tear her soul apart.
Not her body, her soul.
Her soul. So Julia is afraid that Kirsty's going to tell Larry what's going on, and she just wants to leave, but Frank wants new skin. So Julia agrees to let him take Larry's, because apparently we're not protecting Larry anymore.
She
Fuck
never
Larry.
loved Larry. Why did she marry Larry? I don't understand.
I don't understand either, but okay. Certainly not for money, because they're living in this hollow-ass house.
Decrepit.
So when Larry arrives home, she tells him, I don't know where to begin. It's best for you to see for yourself. So Kirsty gets out of the hospital, and she runs back home, and she's yelling for her dad to let her in. Julia answers the door and lets Kirsty in. Kirsty runs over to her father, who we see is definitely off. He's got scarring and bubbling around his face. It is clear it's clear to us that Frank is wearing his skin.
Yeah.
But Kirsty also doesn't see her dad's weird, bubbly face and odd personality quite yet, which I feel like if my father, I just feel like I would know.
I was just about to say that. I know when something's just off with my dad.
But I'd be like, Dad, what's all this weird scarring shit all around your face? And there's blood all on the back of your head.
You're talking weird.
And you're talking super weird.
Weird vibes in this whole room.
I just ran from this house and there was a skinless Uncle Frank, so I'm just getting some bad vibes.
All around.
All around, bad vibes. But she doesn't. She believes it. She tells him about Frank, and he tells her that he's dead, but she insists on seeing the body. Julia takes her upstairs, and Kirsty sees the body stripped of all its skin, and it's all act up, and she thinks that is Frank. So the Cenobites show up, and they say, we want the man who did this. And Kirsty, believing her father did it, tells them no, and she leaves the room. Julia blocks her, and Larry Frank asks her, what's the matter?
Larry Frank.
Larry Frank. And Kirsty says she needs to go, and Larry Frank tells her to stay, and they can all be happy here. He then says his pervy catchphrase, come to daddy.
Ugh.
And it clicks for Kirsty that this is not her dad, it is Frank. So Frank goes to stab her, but she twists, and he stabs Julia instead.
Which was the highlight of the movie for me.
Oh, yeah.
Loved that.
Yeah,
10
loved
out of
that
10.
part. And then he tells her it's nothing personal, and he feeds off of her, too.
Yeah.
So, clearly, no...
He should have put her skin on. Has he even tried being a woman? He would catch more people. He could lure men in.
Yeah.
She did it well.
Yeah. So, and honestly, their whole dynamic kind of made me super uncomfortable anyway, because it just seemed like this, power dynamic where she was just really trying to please him, and he did not care about her at all.
That was set up from the night he, obviously she made the choice, but there was, manipulation. That night they had sex, and you could just tell
and she's
that,
I'll do anything.
Yeah.
And,
anything.
Why? There is nothing interesting or cool about him in any way. That dick must have been out of this world.
He's dark and mysterious, and he has an attitude. It's that bad boy vibe.
You don't like me, but I need validation.
Yeah.
I want you to. Yeah. No.
Stop it.
We don't do that.
That's
no
how
more.
You get murdered.
Stop it. So, Kirsty, she runs upstairs and she tries to hide. She opens a cabinet and a Jesus statue falls out and it scares her. And then she looks over and this dead corpse spits maggots out and she's trying not to freak out. And she comes out and she just stands at the top of the stairs crying because apparently we're not running anymore.
Just given up.
Yes. And Frank comes up behind her and he gets his knife ready. She leads him to the attic. He tells her everything is all right. Frank's here. Your dear old Uncle Frank.
No thanks.
Yeah. And the Cenobites hear him say this and they block him from getting out. They appear in front of him and Frank tries to lie, but the female Cenobite says, we heard it from your own lips.
Mm-hmm.
Pinhead tells Kirsty, this isn't for your eyes. Frank tries to stab her.
Which I thought was really nice. Just real quick, I thought that was lovely of them.
Yeah,
To,
this
protect her.
This isn't for you, but we're gonna do this to you later.
Yeah, it's just not your turn yet.
Yeah, don't watch. We don't want it to ruin, it's a spoiler. We
Yeah.
don't want to ruin it. So Frank tries to stab her, and a hook grabs his hand. Then another hook grabs his other hand, and suddenly tons of hooks come out, and they cut into him, and they start to pull him apart. He then says, Jesus wept, and he is torn apart, and he explodes. Which, Jesus wept is actually the only Bible verse that I know as well.
Yeah, also me.
Yeah, because it's the shortest one, so I memorized that one. I guess it was supposed to be fuck you, but the actor, he convinced Clive Barker to let him say that instead.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did read that they did a lot to try and make it a bit more, friendly. They took out a lot of the really raunchy sex stuff.
Yes.
And they took out all the spanking because they felt like that wasn't...
Yeah, and there were a lot more murder scenes, I
Yeah.
guess, too. Which, it was going to have an X rating, I
Yeah.
guess, if they didn't. And that, rating has gotten a lot more lax since
Yeah,
then, but
that's what it was the stuff that I was reading they cut out, in this day and age, that would be PG-13, they don't care.
Yeah, but back then, scandal.
Getting spanked.
Just spanked. Kirsty runs, but the Cenobites haven't given up on taking her, so they come for her. She gets the puzzle box, and Pinhead tells her, we have such sights to show you. She starts closing the puzzle box up, and then he sends him back to hell, or wherever he came from.
Or heaven, you don't know.
Yeah, heaven and hell. Demon angel to some. I don't know. She then sends the rest of them back one by one, closing up the box in front of each of them. Steve shows up looking for her during this, and when he finds her, they both try to run out. Penis Scorpion is back, and
Back
he's
again.
at the front door. But she ends up using the box to send that Cenobite back as well.
Did you think that her boyfriend, I just felt if I were him, my reactions would have been way more dramatic.
Oh, yeah,
He
no.
was way too chill.
Well, he came in, and the house was pretty much falling apart as he came in.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot going on. And once I saw Penis Scorpion Monster,
Yeah, for real.
there is no context to this. I am freaking the fuck out.
But that's the type of partner you want in that type of situation.
He held it down.
Level-headed.
He was like, you know what? Penis Monster is here. So what am I going to do?
We're going to deal with it right now.
We're just going to face this head on. So they run into the house. She throws the puzzle box into the fire as the house burns down. And they're watching this box burn. Homeless cricket-eating man. He comes back and he reaches into the fire, catches fully on fire, and grabs the box. He then turns into a bone dragon creature.
A highlight of the movie. Loved it.
Yeah, bone dragon. And he flies away with the box. I guess that's his job, just protecting the box. He just follows people around and stalks them until...
Oh, is that what he...
I mean, I'm assuming, because he just stalked her through the whole movie.
I would love to have seen his story. Where are you taking that
How
box,
did you
Bone
become
Dragon?
the bone dragon guardian of this box? Yeah.
I need to know.
Yeah, that was just his job. He was just guarding the box. He said, oh, wow, you threw it away. I'm going to take it. And then he brought it. So the movie ends. It shows another customer getting ready to buy this box from the same merchant, who also is asking this man, what's your pleasure, sir? So we know this is going to keep going, and someone else will end up opening this box, of course, because there are a billion movies.
So Bone Dragon Creature took it back to that merchant.
Yeah, he's his supplier, I
His
guess.
supplier. He's his dealer.
Yeah, so he was like, here you go.
His fetish box dealer.
Fetish
I like
box
it.
dealer.
So you mentioned a minute ago the maggots.
Mm-hmm.
So on set they had a maggot and a roach handler because even though they're still animals,
Yeah.
so they still have to be protected.
I also read that they have to have, which I don't know if that's the case anymore, but back when this was happening, I guess they had to have a person who can sex cockroaches because you can't have a male and a female.
Yes, I read that.
Which I have never really thought about that, but yeah, they can get out of control.
Yeah,
And
they would just breed like crazy. You
and
never stop them.
All the sets would be covered. Yeah, I'm sure the studios did not want that. So
Weird.
yeah, so that's really interesting.
So what was your in one word? So for me, one word, I honestly felt that the movie was underwhelming compared to my expectations.
Yeah, I did not think it was scary. I did think it was cool.
Yeah.
And it did pique my interest in the franchise.
Yeah.
So watching this movie, I definitely would watch the other movies.
Yeah. It did feel like a prequel. Like,
yeah.
I am interested now in seeing the other ones,
yeah.
for sure.
But
it was not what I expected.
Yeah, I did turn to Matt, though, after we watched the movie, because he watched it with me, and I was like, that was really cool. And he said the same. He said, oh, that's really cool. Like, I really loved the costumes and the design, and the practical effects were very cool.
Yeah.
I definitely think probably the reason you feel underwhelmed as well, is because there just wasn't as much of the Cenobites and Pinhead.
Yeah.
And I think that's because we are watching this movie now for the first time, so we don't have the nostalgia.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, we have seen Pinhead so much that we had expectations going in. So,
yeah.
So
I thought he would be more of a center, or like the part where he says like, we have such sights to show you. Like, I thought we would get to go see those.
I want to see the sights.
Yeah, I want to see the sights.
But I can see why this is like one of those movies where people say you have to watch it.
Yeah.
It makes me interested in seeing more of Clive Barker's stuff.
Yeah.
I love Candyman, so
I really like Candy, and I didn't know until today that he had done that one.
Yeah.
And I like Candyman.
Yeah, and I've heard they do get way more into it. So I think this is a great movie to start you off and whet your palate and get you into some Hellraiser. So I'm on board.
I'm on board too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, quick little note too, the original title for the movie was supposed to be Sadomasochists from Beyond the Grave. But they thought that was too, like, lewd. Like, people wouldn't go see that movie.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, I think Hellraiser it's more marketable.
It is, definitely.
Better for branding.
Definitely. Did you have any other fun facts?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. So, which this kind of bummed me out that they never did this. So there was almost like a Pinhead versus Freddy movie.
Oh my gosh, I read that.
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
They started like the whole like ideating and like heading towards production, and then they just decided that like Pinhead didn't vibe with Freddy as well as like the rest of the
slashers.
Michael. Yeah. But I think that would have been really cool. One of the other things that I thought was really interesting is that this movie was inspired by the S&M clubs that Clive used to go to in Amsterdam and Europe.
Very cool.
So I wish there were photos of those clubs that inspired him, because I would love to see if people were dressed relatively like them in the club.
Sure. Go Google the photos, I guess.
Yeah.
See.
And then, what other fun facts did you have? We can go back and forth.
I have originally Doug Bradley, who was cast as Pinhead. He auditioned for one of the movers, but he ended up taking the role of Pinhead. He was concerned about the audience not seeing his face.
Yes.
Because he was trying to get noticed, but obviously this ended up working out better for him.
Yeah, like he almost didn't do it.
Yeah.
But he only did 7 of the 10 movies.
Yeah, but still 7 movies. Yeah. And they made good money, so.
I wish I would have looked up who did the other 3, like who reprised the role for him. I thought it was really interesting that Nintendo tried to develop a video game for the NES. And I just think that would have been a lot of fun.
I do too.
It's supposed to be about being trapped in the puzzle and like getting out.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that whole trapped in the puzzle element, I think I thought this was going to be a little more like The Cell. Like, kind of like chaotic, you know? But maybe the rest of the movies are. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll have to keep going. I'm sure a lot of the people listening have seen this movie, and probably maybe you love it dearly, and so I'm sure there's a lot more for us to discover.
If you guys are watching or listening to this on YouTube, comment. Tell us what you think about the movie.
Yeah, definitely. The movie was filmed in an actual house, and Barker said that did present limitations, so they ended up solving that pretty creatively, I think, but that's why a lot of the shots are from certain angles, because they just had to film in an actual house, which means this actual house existed at one point, and I'm like, was it gross like that?
That's what I was about to say. Like, did they, set the house up that way, or did they just find the most decrepit house they could, and they were like, dope?
Yeah, this one is, we don't even need to change anything.
That seems like a safety hazard. No one fell through any of the floors.
The scene with Frank hanging upside down and being spun around covered in blood was actually the first scene shot, and it was a camera test. So the actor, Sean Chapman, he ended up vomiting afterwards.
Oh my, I would too. I hate being dizzy.
And then Doug Bradley said at a cast party one time he was really upset because the cast, the crew and the cast, they weren't talking to him, but he's the one who plays Pinhead, and the cast and crew had not seen him without his makeup. So just no one just knew who he was.
Oh, which was like his worst fear.
Yeah, he was like, oh, no one knows me. So those were the fun facts that I found.
I did also read, and I don't know if I cannot recall. It was a YouTube video I was watching about like fun tidbits about the movie. And I can't recall if they had actually filmed these scenes and taken them out, or if they were planned but then scrapped before filming them. But apparently there was going to be extreme sodomy.
Oh.
And they like decided last minute, like, nah, that's not it.
Oh, let's
like,
not put the extreme sodomy.
Yeah. That's definitely an X rating.
Maybe we wouldn't make $20 million if the extreme.
That's true.
They're not ready. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun watch.
Yeah, I did too.
So you are in this movie, but did you die?
You know, I thought the answer would be yes, but I don't think so. I think I would survive. This one at least. Like, because I'm not fucking, like, the second I see I always want to say Cenobites, and that's not right. What is it?
Cenobites?
Is it Cenobites?
Cenobites.
Oh, that sounds wrong.
It sounds like a snack.
Yeah, like
I mean, maybe I am saying it wrong. I don't know, but I'm reading it as Cenobites, and it just sounds like
Pinhead and pals.
Cenobites.
Like, as soon as I saw them, like, I'm in the next city over. Like, I'm gone. I don't want a part of any of that.
Yeah. She sees Frank, and I'm just, if I go upstairs and my creepy uncle doesn't have skin and he's trying to like sexually molest me and stab me with a knife,
yeah,
I'm out. I'm not coming back.
Yeah, no.
I'm calling Dad. Hey, we should split.
Hey, Dad.
I'm not going back.
But also, I would probably be super worried about my dad, so maybe I'd hang out at the house more than I should, which might get me killed. Because I feel like Christy is a quick thinker. And
she is,
in that moment, I don't know that I would be.
I know. I'm all flight. I'm no fight. I'm all flight, for sure. Like, movies, I'm good. Real life, scaredy cat.
Scaredy cat.
I'm not doing it.
That's why horror movies are so fun. You get to like, live that out through the screen.
No, I got too much anxiety in real life. These movies let me live this out in a safe space. But yeah, I don't think that I would have died in this movie either. Just because I also would not have fucked with the puzzle box.
No.
I would have seen that it was important to Frank, and maybe I would have been like, oh, I'm taking this. But then I definitely would have thrown it away or something.
I don't know that I would want to have something that was important to a person who had no skin.
Yeah, like, I'd be like, is this part of the reason there's no skin?
Yeah.
And I don't need to know. I'm one of those people, I don't need to know. This isn't for me.
I can be curious. Like, there are a few parts in the movie where I might have been like, oh, I want to see. Like, I want to see the sights they wanted to show her.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I'm good. Thanks.
Tell me about it later.
Yeah, I'm just going to watch the same show on Netflix for the 7th time tonight.
Frasier.
So, you go on ahead. You kids have fun now.
You kids have fun. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, But yeah, so that was Hellraiser. So thank you for listening to our first episode.
Yes.
And we'll go ahead and we are going to generate a new movie to watch at the end of every episode. That way you can follow along with us. You can watch the movie and then you will hear us talk about it the next week.
Yeah, so... sorry. And as we, move on along with this little podcast project, later on we are going to set up like a Discord and then also a Patreon where those who choose to support us will be able to give us movies, horror movies that they adore to add to our list. So it's not guaranteed that we will necessarily watch them, but they will definitely go on the list so that when Sissa does the random generator, they could come up.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll be getting through these movies. So even if your movie is not watched, the next couple ones, it's on the list. We'll get to it for sure.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and generate a movie now.
I feel like we need a drum roll.
So our next movie is The Others.
Oh,
with
my
Nicole
gosh.
Kidman.
I'm very pumped about that.
Have you seen that?
I have. It's been years since I've seen it, but are we allowed to watch movies that one of us has seen?
Yeah,
okay.
for sure.
So I saw it in theaters. Amazing.
I'm
very
good?
excited. So good.
Okay.
I'm so excited for you to see it, and I'm excited to watch it because it's been years, and it's a little psychological. So there's going to be things that I've missed,
Okay.
So I'm excited to go. Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
That's awesome. I do love Nicole Kidman, so
yes.
I'm excited. So tune in next week. We are going to be watching The Others.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Marissa. Just a quick note. We did try to find The Others, but it wasn't available for streaming anywhere. So our next movie is going to be The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Bye.